is Jenna.
And this is Heather.
And this is Conspiracies Unlocked.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
And today we are going to be talking about Project Bluebeam because a fan requested it.
Yes, we did have a loyal listener who did request us to just touch on Project Bluebeam. I wouldn't call this a deep dive per se, but we are going to touch on Project Bluebeam today.
Which we have already touched on before during the HARP episode, I believe.
I believe it was a HARP episode and actually came up in another episode. I think the direct energy weapons.
Yes, I think that Project Bluebeam does come up a lot because it's one of those, it's all connected subjects. It is literally all connected.
It is.
So.
And, you know, with that being said of it's all connected, before we talk about Project Bluebeam, we're actually going to talk about a couple of projects that happened before Project Bluebeam.
Really?
Because Project Bluebeam was not the first UFO research program and investigation program that was in place.
I had no idea.
So the first one that I found is called Project Sign.
Oh.
Yes. So Project Sign was a top secret U.S. government program that operated in the late 1940s and early 50s.
I thought Project Bluebeam started in the late 40s as well.
Project Sign was the first in the 40s.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And this initiative, also known as Project Saucer.
Ooh.
So,
Saucer.
it was established to investigate and analyze reports of unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, more commonly known as UAPs.
Now, more commonly.
Yeah. Now.
That's a now. That's like saying, X, formerly known as Twitter. Every news, like when you read news stories, it's like the longest thing. X, formerly known as Twitter.
It's like everybody knows what X is now,
Or just call it Twitter and call it a day.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, yes, and Project Sign, or also known as a Project Saucer, was to determine whether these mysterious aerial phenomenon pose any potential threat to national security. Because even now, with the July 2023 UAP hearing, you know, everyone wants to know if this is a national security problem, and everybody is asking for transparency.
Yes.
Project Sign was the first official effort by the U.S. military to systematically study UFO sightings and gather information on these unidentified craft that were quite often reported by military pilots and commercial pilots. But in the 40s and the 50s, they received a lot of eyewitness reports, primarily from military pilots who saw things in the sky that were very alarming, and to the point where they were having mental breakdowns and put in asylums almost for even talking about it, and they would just silence them.
Or now they just kill them. But I did have a question, actually. While we record this, we're recording live on Facebook, and someone brought up something, which I was the same way. I thought it was Project Blue Book, which I am the same way. Is it Project Blue Book or Project Blue Beam?
So this is Project Blue
Beam, but is it interchangeable, or is there a different Project Blue Book?
It's Project Blue Book, but I had a typo, and I was saying Project Blue Beam because there is another one that we did a story on about the beam, and I was thinking of the direct energy weapon.
That's
beam.
it. Okay.
So, my bad. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You are right. I was thinking of the direct energy when I was like interchanging
the direct energy weapon,
because that was a blue beam, and that made me think of HARP too.
Yes.
Because HARP is all about the blue beam. Yeah, but it is Project Blue Beam and Blue Book, and you are correct. I don't know why I wrote Beam, because at the top it says Beam, but it's book everywhere else. It's just my title says book Beam.
Oh, that's so funny.
Like, you can literally see the title says Beam, but everything else in here says book.
Okay.
So I started looking frantically. I'm like, wait a minute. Everything else says book. So it was just a typo in the title. So I'm very sorry about that. These things happen, and this is live, and this is unedited, and this is what happens.
Yes.
And it's something that would have been caught later as I'm looking over my notes more.
So I just messaged the person who said that to us and thanked him.
Yes.
But we appreciate it. It happens. I honestly, because you have used them so interchangeably, that I just assumed that they were the same thing.
No.
Or then I was like, oh, I don't want to say that and it be wrong because this is like your deal. Yeah. You're aliens. I'm everything else. And so, okay, cool. I'm glad that we got it settled then. It's not Project Bluebeam. There is no Project Bluebeam, I don't think. But
so, like I said, I was getting it with the Project Blue Beam or Blue Beam because I was thinking of direct energy weapons.
There is a Project Project Bluebeam by NASA.
Yeah, there is a Project Bluebeam also.
Is a conspiracy theory. So Project Bluebeam is the conspiracy theory, but Project Blue Book is real.
Project Blue Book is what we are talking about today, but there is going to be aspects of the conspiracy theory which will probably touch on Project Bluebeam, and that could be why the title is Project Bluebeam Unlocked. It should be Blue Book because we are going by facts, but we are going to touch on different aspects of the steps of what they believe NASA is doing. It's like it is a conspiracy. Okay, so going back to Project Sign, the key features of Project Sign do include, basically, Project Sign was initiated in the late 1947, following a surge in UFO sightings, including the famous, that we all know, Roswell. Mm-hmm. So obviously, they said that they did come out and say that it was a weather balloon and that it wasn't anything for the general population to be worried about. But of course, people are going to have questions and they're not going to let it go. And they did investigate those UFO sightings. It was established by the United States Air Force. And it was the Air Material Command, and the operation operated in a classified manner. So everything was like top secret, and obviously they weren't going to release anything to the public at the time.
Super skiffy.
Super skiffy, yeah. If David Grush knew anything, he would not tell us. He would say it would have to be in a closed setting.
A skiff,
if
you will.
Yes. So the mission of Project Sign was to collect and investigate and get as much data and reports of UFO sightings and different encounters from whomever and wherever. Like I said, primarily the military pilots, because they were flying their jets in the sky, and obviously they would see things that wouldn't pop up on the radar, or they would, and like, what is this? And that's very alarming. It was involved a team of the military and also civilian, because as we know, we could look in the night sky and we could see something and like, okay, what could that be?
Mm-hmm.
And most people have like the question, are we alone? Whatever you believe in religiously or not, you're going to have that like something in us. Where do we come from? Our heritage. People now, they do like their DNA. They want to know where their family lineage is from. It's just like a kind of a question.
How did we evolve? How did mankind come to be? Where was it a god that just zapped Adam and Eve? Or was it aliens that put us here? Or how did the universe start? And as I go further and further of how vast the universe is.
It's a rabbit hole of questions.
It literally makes my head hurt how small we are.
Yeah, we're very insignificant and very small.
Yes.
So with all that being said, that they did have this program where they, including scientists, intelligence officers, of course, and aviation specialists, astrophysics, everyone across the board was basically looking into this because they're trying to figure out what these are, and they're trying to find a rational explanation to give to the general population because they don't want like a hysteria. This is in the 40s and the 50s following the war, and we all know there's a whole war hysteria, and that was a whole thing that they wanted to try to make sure that people felt safe and comfortable, and that their national security was, that they were safe.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk
it could
about
be
that
a missile. UAP could be a missile.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So the Roswell thing happened right at the ass end of or during World War II, right?
Yeah, 47, I believe. Yeah.
So that was the ass end of World War II. So people like just went through World War I. Now they're through World War II.
Yeah.
And they just came off the Depression and all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Baby boomers are starting. They're starting to have more babies, and they're starting their lives again.
Mm-hmm. And these are people that lost everything, and they're trying to rebuild their family.
The stock market is coming back up again. Everything is getting better. And then all of a sudden, there's all these fucking, like, things in the sky, and they're like, what the fuck?
Now you have to worry about some kind of invasion.
Yeah, or it could be from
another country.
Yeah.
And what if it was Germany? I mean, there's a lot of speculation that Germany had their own programs. And,
exactly. The time travel and all sorts of stuff.
Uh-huh.
So then that does put a different swing on things.
Mm-hmm.
Like that people then, so for the government to have to come out with a statement to ease everybody's minds.
Weather balloon.
That kind of prefaces how we can't handle the truth now, supposedly. Even though we are in a much better state, although I think we're going back down to a worse state, but we were at a very non-volatile state to handle UFOs a few years ago.
I feel like people now are so desensitized that if there was an alien to stand directly, I mean, maybe I would freak out, even though I have a tattoo of an alien on my leg. But if I saw an alien right there, I would probably think I was like hallucinating. Number one.
I love skeletons and stuff, but if I could never be next to like a dead body skeleton.
I just feel like people are so desensitized that they wouldn't even really. They'd be like, oh yeah, aliens, yeah, probably. Okay,
what I think is that people would rather it be aliens than it be Russians or some other country invading us at this point.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Where before,
but who's more hostile?
We don't. The other countries,
what I mean?
Yeah, we don't know.
That's the problem.
I take my chances with the aliens.
So this leads into my next part of what I was going to discuss is the public interest.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about. The UFO sightings obviously capture the imagination and media attention. Just like with the spy balloon from China. When that was going around, it got so much media coverage. I
think that people forget that there's media coverage even in the early mid-1900s, because I feel like now everything is spread so fast through via internet, and so back then it had to be through a newspaper, and that it wasn't able to get across so quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that people forget that there was media back then, there was journalism back then, and news did cross pretty quickly, considering they didn't have the internet. I mean, they had, in the 1800s, 1700s, late 1700s, they had newspaper, or not newspaper, but news tellers. So there'd be the town's news person who would go town to town of whatever was going on.
And there's been UAP, UFO sightings for all of time, which we've talked about in other episodes too. So it's not like anything new in the 40s, in the 50s.
No.
I mean, I remember.
I think that newspapers were more.
It's more widespread now because it's better, easier for people to communicate.
Morse code came out in 1912 or something, 1911.
So they can communicate better with each other about what they saw in their area. But I remember a story about my grandmother was born in 1917. My mom's mom.
My mom's mom was born in 1917 as well.
Really?
Shut up.
Yeah, she was born in 1917.
When did she die?
She died when I was like 12.
Me too!
That's weird. Was she German?
No!
Okay, mine was partially German. Like, she had other parts.
No, mine
she had other parts of her.
Mine was
other heritage, but
mine
she was
was
German.
100% Scottish.
Yeah.
But I believe she was born in maybe it was 1927.
Well, mine was definitely 1917, and her husband was born in 1915. They were older generation, but my point of saying that is when she was a kid, she grew up in Waverly, Iowa. She didn't grow up in Germany. Like, her family was from Germany, but she was born in America. And
so you're like you're third. I'm first.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, just so we're all aware, I'm first generation American. I am American as fuck, but I am first generation.
I think I'm about third.
Yeah, I'm the first. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I just figured it out like a year or two ago, and I'm like, it's funny.
No, it's good. I mean,
I'm first generation American. Most people are like second, third, fourth, 20th, whatever.
Yeah.
My mom was never an American citizen. I mean, she's still white as fuck coming from Scotland, but still, it's not like she came from like Mexico or like Colombia or like Italy or any of the cool places.
Any of the cool places.
The minority places.
So, going back to my grandmother, who was born in 1917, she did have German descent and others. We're very European. I think most of my DNA is Scandinavian because I did my DNA, and I got a lot of Scandinavian. Yeah, that's Swedish. Yeah, I'm Swedish. From Sweden and Germany and Ireland and yeah. So I'm kind of a European mutt. But anyway, the point is that she did speak German because her parents were like fluent. But when she grew up in Waverly, Iowa, she was born in 1917. My great-grandfather, her father, he smoked cigars. She had like 19 brothers and sisters too because like they lived on a farm and like they all worked together. You know, it was just how they did it back then. But long story short, he was outside smoking a cigar on his big wraparound porch on the big old farm, and he called the family out because they saw a tic-tac shape.
Oh my God.
UFO going across in the sky.
And that would
have been in like the early 20s.
Yeah.
And I was always thinking like, I wonder if it was one of those
weather balloons?
No, not a weather balloon. No, the other ones, the Z one, help me out, people who are watching, Zeppelins, right?
Oh,
is that what they're called? Like
the Zephyrs.
The Zephyr, yeah. But apparently it wasn't. Like it was, I don't know when those were built, but it was like different. Like the way that they described it, the way it like shot around, and just like cruise, it was like UFO. And that would have been way back then. So this is like at least 20 years before Project Sign.
Yeah.
That I know from my family. So
crazy.
And I know it even goes back farther than that.
For sure.
So going back to Project Sign, it was created in response to the growing interest, obviously, about the UFOs in the public and the military who had been witnessing different things. The project's personnel analyzed witnesses and testimony. They analyzed radar data and any relevant information, to try to figure out what was going on with these phenomenon of the UAPs and UFOs. They wanted to determine if the sightings were something that they could actually explain, like logically explain of, okay, this is a weather balloon, this is what this technology from whatever it could be, or if it was something that was like really unexplainable and could be a threat to the national security or just a threat in general, or just what the heck is this? Mm-hmm. Project Sign was significant to report, as it was known the estimate of the situation. It was classified and it was top secret. So this all came out way later. Obviously, during this time, nothing was given to the general population. The report that came out later was suggested that some of the UFOs might be extraterrestrial origin. So it was unknown. Later it came out it was top secret, it was unknown, they didn't know what it was. They had no explanation for it. And not everyone in the military agreed with that, and it was like conflict. So obviously they just continued studying more. This led to much controversy in the government and also in the military, and a lot of military officials were really uncomfortable with the thought of the extraterrestrial hypothesis, just like now. So pretty much nothing has changed.
No.
Obviously they wanted transparency, but back then they had it was a little more insufficient evidence because the technology has changed also.
Yeah.
So it's not like they did have things, but like now we have even more technology, so we can even study even more so. Project Sign was actually it ended in 1949. So that was the end of Project Sign, or AKA Project Saucer. What did continue, because like we said, that it's going to continue because they're still going to have questions. There's going to be the side that they're like, oh, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
This is like, you're crazy. And then there's going to be the other side that's like, no, we need to know.
Yeah,
I'm very intrigued. I want to know what the heck is this, right?
Yeah.
So it continued with Project Grudge. So Project Grudge later was Project Blue Book. It continued again. It was with the U.S. Air Force, who investigated the same thing, UFOs, UAPs, and it did continue for many years. Project Sign was not conclusive to prove the existence of any extraterrestrial life, but it did kind of set the tone, and kind of like a platform for them to continue the work and the efforts to try to figure out what exactly the phenomenon was. This work laid a foundation for what we have today, and lots of interest, speculation, and of course lots of enthusiasts and researchers. Going on to Project Grudge, a little bit about that. It was also a classified government program. It was established, again, by the United States Air Force in 1949. During the early years of what is called the Cold War. The project was, the objective was to investigate and regulate reports of UFOs and any threat, again, to national security. So it's just kind of echoing the same thing as Project Sign, but it just would continue on. The mission, again, was to collect and data, analyze UFO sightings, encounters, phenomenon, and determine, again, whether this was conventional or whether it was like some kind of weather phenomenon. A lot of them were saying like it was weather phenomenon or just some kind of natural phenomenon, or, again, human-made objects. Like something that someone made somewhere else, another country, and that we're just not aware of what it is, so we're clueless, so we think it's something of another worldly or dimension or whatever.
Maybe another dimension because of time travel.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody 3,000 years in the future has come back here.
Quite possible. David Grush would agree with you.
If we were in a skiff.
He'll be able to tell you more. With Project Grudge, it did include astronomers, meteorologists, because, you know, these could be, what if it is a shooting star?
Yeah.
And it's something that's burning up in our atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it's not a UFO. It's
just an asteroid or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Space dust.
Space dust. They did go over a lot of different things that it could be. However, Grudge was somewhat, had more of a skeptical approach towards the UFO investigations, and they were more leaning towards, they just debunked everything. Like, everything just kept getting debunked. And they didn't, like, people believed that they weren't really investigating it wholeheartedly, like it was just kind of like to get rid of it. Yeah. Like, this isn't happening, like sweep it under the rug, or just kind of
no, that makes sense.
Yeah, like they didn't want, if they did
like,
find
let's get rid of this
concrete,
as soon as possible. Let's just get the public eye off of it.
It was very dismissive.
That's a good word.
Very dismissive of UFO sightings. And again, people that were actually reporting these sightings, they weren't, I mean, yeah, there was just regular people like us that could be like, oh, I saw something in the sky. But these are people who are like, they're military pilots.
They're
for the Air
trustworthy.
Force.
They're not us.
They've had like, no, but I mean, like, they have experience of what could be in the sky.
Yeah.
Like, they train them on like, okay, you know, whatever I don't even know how to describe it, like what they could see potentially, you know? And they were even discrediting them. So these activities were obviously carried out in somewhat secrecy because it was top secret. And in 1952, the project was reorganized. So it wasn't like ended. Project Grudge turned in to Project Blue Book.
So
it just kind of like transferred.
It
just kind of like morphed into that.
Yeah, so they just kept doing that. They would end one just for somebody else to show interest, and it just continue forward.
Yeah, and again, like, you know, Project Grudge was kind of debunking everything, and then when Project Blue Book came about, I don't know, it seems like they were taking more of like back to like a serious approach.
Good. I feel like they have to every time that there's like a new interest or a new project. So, okay, cool. So we closed Project Grudge. Now we're gonna do Project Bluebeam. So everybody has to take it seriously all over again.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there. And then if everything goes to shit, then we'll do another project.
And I don't have the numbers of how many investigations Sign did, Project Sign or Project Grudge, but I do have a note here that Project Blue Book was more of like you said, like open and more like I don't know, hands-on in a way. Like it was more like, okay, we're gonna do this damn thing. And they conducted thousands of investigations. Like,
oh, wow.
It seems like they investigated a lot more
it's almost
than
like
others.
now the UAP hearings and all that.
Yeah.
It's like they're finally taking it seriously.
Exactly.
So they had done that, and history repeats itself.
Yeah, and despite, like, in the past, the controversial history of Sign and Grudge, this part of the UFO in the United States, it represents like a period when the government was actively studying and cataloging UFO sightings and like really contributing and really trying to debate that, and even just not only debate but really had more of an open mind about, okay, this actually could be extraterrestrial, like instead of just like writing it off as a weather balloon or swamp gas or like whatever they say. They were actually taking it more seriously in the nature of what the unidentified flying objects could be. And you know, I think about it too, it could be like maybe because the technology was better too, maybe. I don't know how much technology changed between the 40s and, you know, the 60s, but
probably,
you know, I think a good amount probably would have changed. But basically, for Project Blue Book, in 1969, the Air Force did investigate the flying objects, like we stated, and the project was headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. And remember, we've talked about Wright-Patterson Air Force Base before.
Yes.
And that's where they had a lot of sightings of UFOs, was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio.
So I actually will be talking about Ohio in my upcoming episode.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with aliens. Or does it?
Ooh. Dun, dun, dun.
Maybe there is some sort of something.
Maybe.
It's all connected, right?
It is. But it's just funny because I saw Wright-Patterson and I'm like,
we've done this before. We've played this game.
This is very interesting.
We should go visit that Air Force Base.
Oh, I wonder.
Oh, we couldn't.
No.
You'd have to, we would have to have somebody that we know on there.
Who do we know that's in the Air Force?
I don't know.
I know somebody that works for Boeing, but that doesn't really help us.
We're actually doing something for the Air Force right now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. But
maybe
I can't say anything more.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I can't do any of that.
Yeah. So going back to Project Blue Book, like we said, this is the United States Air Force program. It was established in 1952, when it was like officially established, when it took over, the primary purpose was the investigation and researching of the unidentified objects. The project did continue until December 17th, 1969. That's actually when it ended, and it was officially terminated. During that time, a total of 12,618 sightings were reported.
Wow.
And investigated.
Wow.
So that was like a huge amount compared to Project Sign and Project Bridge.
And for that time period, because you have to think about like talking to people and stuff, it wasn't so easy to get points across. It wasn't like, hey, comment on here and somebody can do it all quick. It was like those 12,000 people had to go out of their way to like send a fucking like telegram or a pigeon or some shit.
Well, was it in the 60s?
But still, like, it was telegram.
Well, it was before
right?
the 60s.
Telegram, snail mail. Like, we didn't even have email.
They had phones.
Okay, call
They
it.
had telephones.
Yes, telephones, whatever. But it was like
telegram. They had a telephone.
Okay, sorry. But they didn't have email. That's all I was getting to. Like, they didn't have the internet. The internet seems to have made the world so much smaller. But also, the population was, like, way less. So if you think about it, 12,000 people would have been a huge percentage of population compared to nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have been, like, 0.5% of the population are coming forward. Mm-hmm. If 0.5 of the population did anything together, we could move fucking mountains.
That's
like,
true, yeah.
Nowadays, you know, like, everything has grown, not only in technology, but population, people, like, breeding.
Well, you know, surprisingly enough, it's a big number, but, you know, of those 12,618 sightings, I'm saying only, but 701 of them remain unidentified. So they did find a reason. Whether the reason
for a bunch of them
was correct or not, I don't know. I don't have that data, but it was actually 71 remain unsolved. So I mean, there could be, and those are just of the ones that were reported. Mm-hmm. So then we get into like the conspiracy side of it. That's already kind of a conspiracy in a sense in itself because it's like if you believe or not believe, and if you've seen something or not. Because I was gonna be like,
well, did all 701 of those? Did half of those see the same object in the sky? So then that actually discredits like half of them, because not discredits, but like makes half of that whole population just see one thing. Mm-hmm. Then that's only one phenomenon, not 701. You know what I'm saying? Then there'd be,
Mm-hmm. And then we get into, this is where I talk about Project Blue Beam, which I know is not Blue Book. Blue Book is an actual Air Force investigation program that was funded by the U.S. government for the Air Force. Blue Beam is like more of the conspiracy theorist suggestion regarding NASA. And it coincides with the UFO agenda, so I have it in here that the Project Blue Beam conspiracy theory suggests that NASA has secret plans to create and add to a new world order. And the description of the project is broken down into 4 steps to achieve this potential goal. The first step would be the breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. For example, they would set up earthquakes at certain precise locations around the world where new archaeological discoveries will be explained. And if they were to be found, they would basically just debunk all the meanings of major religions. So the way that they would do that is that they would use something like HARP. Or that's where we get into the HARP and the direct energy weapons and stuff, and Antarctica, where they have, what is that one called in Antarctica? I did an episode on Antarctica. It's not in my notes here. I thought I would remember.
What?
The ice observatory where they create earthquakes. What is that one called?
Oh, I forgot
the name of it.
HARP,
but it's not HARP. It's the other one.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure.
Oh gosh, I wish I could remember now. But basically, they would use those systems to set up earthquakes, okay?
Uh-huh.
And then the second one would be a giant, basic 3D hologram, which would be projected in, like, not necessarily space, but, like, in the sky or, like, in our, like, above us in the space or, like, in the atmosphere. The example would be using the laser projections with multiple hologram images to different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
With each region of the world would receive different messages according to their predominant religion, national religious faith, and belief systems to support their belief systems, which will then essentially make those people, if they are compelled to, like, believe it and they, like, are really, like, yes, they would believe that their God or, like, their Messiah or whoever they believe in would be coming back to like,
which
would be like
would be
end
coming
of
back,
days,
coming
almost.
back to retrieve the people. Like my grandma always had her rocking chair.
Like
pointed,
Revelations, is it
yes,
Revelations? If you're like Christian.
Yeah, so my grandma would always have her rocking chair headed towards the east because that's where Jesus is supposed to come from. So then that would be when they would take all the people,
the chosen
or the pure or the whatever, and that everything, all your godly or worldly possessions would be done. So all your rings would fall off, your everything would fall off. I was like 6 and I was like, hey grandma, what happens to your tattoos? And
do they fall off?
She's like, they'll get ripped out of your skin.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I'm never getting a tattoo. Meanwhile, they're everywhere. They don't stop. But yeah. So, but what I was going to say about all of that with the Project Bluebeam, what's crazy is that, have you seen the videos in Japan on the side of a building and they have the cat that like is like not
a hologram,
like a hologram that comes out and like chases a ball or something, or like the demon that comes out. Or
they can do it in China too, where they'll have like a whale just swimming through the sky.
Yes.
And there's nothing.
Here's a fun fact. Why the fuck did they make the Las Vegas sphere?
The sphere, yes.
The sphere is fucking gnarly and it looks crazy.
You've seen it in person, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so they, last time I went to Vegas, I was like, I need to take a video of this, but I arrived in the day and then I left the following morning. It was daytime. So I couldn't, because I was going to take a video of it, and I was on the wrong side of the plane coming in, but I don't think it would have mattered. Yeah. Because Bryant took me right next to it, and it wasn't even on when he took me wherever. But anyways, and when I left, it wasn't on because I left at like 8 in the morning. So one of these days I will leave at night because I go there a lot.
But they have it on during the day though too. I've seen it where it's like an emoji and it's like making faces at the cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that that's later on in the day. So, like, because I went there at,
well, it gets dark at 5 now.
I arrived at, like, 8 in the morning, and I left at 8 in the morning. So, it was, like, too early. I think that it turns on at, like, noon or something, and I wasn't around it at that point in time.
Yeah, he didn't live right there.
No, he doesn't, no. Yeah. He lives on one end, and then my other friend lives on the other end, so I literally am, like, slingshotted from one end to the other, and the strip is in the middle.
Yeah.
But we don't go through the strip because it would take way too long.
Well, with all those people on the traffic.
So they always, like, go around or whatever. So I hardly ever get to go on the strip unless I'm staying on the strip.
Yeah, or if you guys have a reason, like, you're like, oh, we're going to go get dinner and we'll go to the strip, like, for fun or whatever.
We went to the art district last time. So I could go to Nightmare Cafe, which if you guys have been on Instagram or anything, well, I don't know. It might only be for me because I go to Vegas so much.
I've never even heard of it.
You haven't?
No,
what
is it?
It's like a immersive entertainment dinner thing, and they have like...
is it the one where it's like really high up in the sky?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's like on normal ground.
I've seen that
level. It just has a bunch of like on the TV screens. It's all like horror movies, just the like bloody slashy parts. And then they have like all these like mannequins of all the scary horror stuff. like Freddy and clowns and Beetlejuice and just whatever. Like, just scary shit is just everywhere. It's just like a homage to...
Yeah, for like Halloween.
Yeah, but no, I guess it's
October.
there all the time, I think. But I wanted to go in October. But I think it's there all the time. It's in the art district of Vegas.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people, like my sister, for example, where they're always in spooky season.
Yeah.
Like, even your house, you have, like, bats and stuff.
I know, it's psychotic. I made a pirate cove for spooky season, and then I just left it.
She does have a pirate cove.
I have Billy the pirate that's outside that's just skeletons.
And, like, I am the opposite. I hate anything scary. Like, I don't even watch horror movies.
No,
I don't watch that stuff. I feel like it rots your brain or something. Like, nothing against anybody or you or anybody that watches it, but I feel like for me, it's just gonna like sit with me and like fester, and I'm just gonna like...
If anything, it desensitizes you to like murdering people.
Oh my gosh.
I think like that'd be it. But like, I grew up on horror movies like that.
I did too.
And I don't have, I have impulses to kill people because they piss me off or whatever, road rage. But like, if I could actually like saw off somebody's arm, like I don't think I could.
I wouldn't want
physically,
to.
like, I just don't feel like I could. And that's like a good thing.
Yeah, no.
That's just good.
It makes me cringe just to think about it.
So my husband hates horror movies. Hates. And I love Freddy, like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, I had the box set. Like, that is my favorite, right?
I grew up watching Freddy.
Freddy's like my favorite.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, on Halloween, he goes...
Well, we should say what it is for people that don't know that might like horror movies. It's A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yeah.
And Brad goes, let's watch Nightmare on Elm Street. And I was like, what? Because he hates slashers and he hates all that stuff. And he's like, well, there's like a plot. And I'm like, let's do Nightmare on Elm Street 5. I fucked up. I meant to do 4, where you see the origin story of him being at the daycare. I did number 5, the origin story of the mom being raped by all the insane people, and
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's a whole story thing.
It's so demented.
I know. So I picked the wrong origin story. I was so pissed.
Demonic. Ew.
It literally is. I love it.
I know. I can't like enter that in my brain.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, back to Project Bluebeam.
So we're getting into we're getting into things entering in people's brains. So
yes.
This is a perfect segue.
So it's like what my perfect segue was that they are...
I was trying to make it fit, okay?
Yeah, me too. They are placing these like spheres or whatever in every major city. It seems, not major city, but like in every country.
See how people will react? Program?
No. So then that way when Project Bluebeam sets forth and they want it, they'll already have the technology to program to...
But then won't people just say, that's coming from the sphere, that's not real?
I don't know. Maybe the sphere is going to get so, like, the technology will be able to
I think they're going to use HARP.
Yeah,
I think they're going to use HARP.
It's just interesting that, like, I don't know.
And all the metal they're putting in the atmosphere with the chemtrails, and somehow it's going to, like, reflect off.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's how they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to do it with any of the sphere. Like, I think they're going to do it with something that it's like almost like a mirage, where it's like not like a solid like they're doing in China and stuff. It's going to be more like angelic looking and more realistic and translucent and more
So we go to
like a hologram. It literally says hologram. So, I don't know, something that's not as obvious. That would be a little more believable.
Brad and I were going through the desert the last time we went on Halloween. And we're going through the desert, and there's like, you know, like in the desert, there's mirages, but there's not really because we're not dying or anything, you know?
You can still see one.
No, so we come over this hill, and Brad's like, that's a new house. And I'm like, oh, thank God you see it too. I thought it was a mirage. Like, legit. Real conversation.
I believe
we were in that orange buggy. Anyways, go on. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So with that being said, that does go into our next step of, which would be telepathic two-way communication. And it is believed that NASA will use low-frequency radio waves to telepathically communicate with humans worldwide.
Will we know that they are, or
No.
will we think it's just an intrusive thought?
We will not know. It will be
so that
used...
could be happening right now, and we just don't know it.
Oh, yeah, it could be happening now. Yeah. It would be used to shape our beliefs to match those that would form kind of like a mind control, and to make, but specifically, again, going back to religion, to make them think that their God is sending them the messages. Like they're praying to whoever they pray to, and then they hear like that, almost like an inner monologue, but it would be like not an inner monologue, it would be like their God responding to them, and spiritually sending them messages spiritually. And the messages would be broadcasted directly to the brain by NASA, not by any god or any religion or any, it's like to fool the masses telepathically using a low frequency radio wave. Step 4 would be the universal supernatural manifestation using electronic means. The final step is to create a chaotic event that will leave people willing or desperate enough to accept this new world order. One is to make mankind believe that an alien invasion is about to strike down on each major city around the world. Second would be that Christians would believe the coming of Christ, or, whatever religion that you believe in, you would believe that your Messiah was coming. The third is a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces unknown. Project Blue Book, and so that's Project Blue Beam. Going back to the Project Blue Book to kind of tie it together, is that this was initiated in the response of a surge of the UFO sightings of the 1950s. The U.S. Air Force was responsible for defending an airspace of the United States and launched this project to determine whether UFOs pose a threat to national security and gain a better understanding of unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAPs.
Mm-hmm.
The objectives of Project Blue Book. Again, this is Blue Book, not Blue Beam. Blue Beam is like the conspiracy part 1 through 4 we just discussed. Going back kind of full circle, Project Blue Book is as follows. To collect and investigate the UFO sightings and encounters from military and civilian personnel, or civilians, to assess any potential national security posed by the UFOs, analyze data and gather information scientifically, and to provide explanations for the majority of the UFO sightings, either through conventional or natural phenomenon. So they wanted to debunk them, was a main goal, was just to debunk. Over the duration, Project Blue Book did collect thousands of reports, and again, they did find that 701 were unexplainable. While the project did close a significant number of cases as identified, it was notable for leaving a small percentage, like we said, the 701. Project Blue Book closed in 1969, citing the lack of any evidence. Lack of evidence that UFOs represented a threat to national security, and the conclusion that they did not demonstrate an advanced technology or extraterrestrial origin. However, critics and theorists have argued that the project's closure was more of a result of public relations than actual scientific investigation, and the handling of the UFO reports have been criticized for a lack of scientific rigor and transparency. This led to ongoing debates obviously for conspiracy theorists and conspiracy podcast shows
Yeah.
to discuss it further. And in recent years, renewed the interest of the UFOs and an identified aerial phenomenon, which now we have, what leads us into the current time of July 2023, when we had the U.S. government come out with 3 whistleblowers saying that this is a multi-decade cover-up.
Which is
Multi-decade
crazy.
cover-up. That means that, again, it actually goes with what these programs are saying. All these programs, Project Sign, Project Grudge, Project Blue Book, they were all to basically cover up. They kind of pretended like they were investigating, which they were, but their whole goal was just to find even to the point of convincing people that they didn't see it, they didn't hear it, they didn't witness it. There was people that were actually put in asylums.
That's crazy.
Pilots that were put in asylums over it, and that they were doing like shock therapy and stuff to try to like wipe their brain of it.
That is insane.
And then Project Bluebeam is just like, you know, there's a whole talk of New World Order and Agenda 2023 and the whole
2030.
What did I say?
2023.
Oh, because I'm thinking of
this year.
This year, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it, really, for the episode today. It's kind of like what your take. What do you everyone's take on it? Like, do you believe that NASA and the government is covering up? Well, obviously, we just had the UAP hearing, so probably.
Yeah, no,
and now they just came out with the truth.
Gosh.
Yeah.
It's only a conspiracy until it's proven true.
Yeah.
Blue Beam, Blue Book, all this UFO shit was a conspiracy.
Project Sign, Project Grudge.
And now
it's coming out that it's
true.
It's
so
true.
It's not a conspiracy anymore. It's real.
But Project Bluebeam is still the conspiracy that they're going to be using these technologies
for a new world
order. Yeah. You know, their agendas.
But once again,
programming.
Let's think. It's only a conspiracy until it's true.
And when are we going to come out and say, oh, remember when we talked about on that episode, blah, blah, blah? And now we have a whistleblower.
Yeah. They're saying, by the way, the New World Order is real and blah, blah, blah. And we'll refer back to this.
We should do an episode on the New World Order because we haven't.
We haven't?
I don't think so.
I feel like we have.
Well, you were going to do Agenda 2030. We haven't done that yet, have we?
Yes.
Oh, we have. Okay, we already did that, yeah.
Did we?
I don't think we did. I don't think that we did. I think we, you've probably written it, but I don't think we've actually recorded it.
That's so crazy. If we haven't, we'll record that next. Because, no, I should have.
Did we? I don't remember. Oh, it's bad when you can't remember what you recorded.
I'm pretty sure that we did. Okay.
Maybe we have. So just refer back to that episode.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening.
Yes, and thank you so much for staying with us with our technical difficulties. We did have a few, so thank you. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.
Thank you, and email us at conspiraciesunlocked@gmail.com.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.